Welcome to another episode of Bitcash Breakthrough, your gateway to digital wealth. We talk about stories, inspiration, advice from industry experts. Please welcome Sudip Banerjee, dynamic leader in the blockchain and IT sectors. Starting his educational career in India, Sudip moved to Ukraine in 2003, where he specialized in computer systems and networks at a prestigious Kiev Polytechnic Institute. His professional path began with the founding of his IT company in Ukraine, focusing on IT outsourcing, data center construction, and blockchain development. Sudeep has been instrumental in projects like Paytomat Wallet, and he's provided expert marketing and PR services for ICOs through Crypto Group. He co-founded Crypto Alliance, leading initiatives such as Jungle Testnet, Simple Assets, Sig.app, and managed multiple chain launches using Antelope technology. Currently, he serves as a biz dev consultant and analyst at Zyson.io, enhancing blockchain and crypto projects, while also contributing to product launches on Bitcoin through L1lion.xyz. It's L1on.x.
On layer one, that wordplay.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, you got the lion theme going on, which is great. That's where I met you at Crypto Lions on the EOS network. And yeah, I always like to get started learning about how your crypto journey started. When was the first time you heard about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
It was back in university. I was still studying. I was in the hostel. So I would say the electricity was free, and mining Bitcoin was an extension to, I would say, fascination that distributed computing had brought back then. We also did have distributed computing in the university courses also. But if you remember, there was this screensaver, SETI. It used to use all the computers to decode extraterrestrial sound waves captured by all these telescopes. So you can leave your computer idle and it will just compute that data. And then came sometime when this Bitcoin topic became mining Bitcoin or distributed computing. Okay, it's not providing computing data to this big telescope just to compute their data. Now you can get some tokens, because that screensaver doesn't provide you any incentive. It was just a beautiful one on your screen, but yeah. So yeah, that was the first dive into Bit without understanding any principles behind it, why it became why money. Imagine a fourth year student who doesn't understand completely how the world operates. It was this back in 2007, 8. Yeah, 8. And that was the background of information I had. And this 2009 thing, then Bitcoin appeared. Then I forgot about it, forgot about the mined Bitcoin that I had, because computers changed, hard disk changed, didn't matter much. And then I completely forgot about it. Didn't matter. We started our own IT outsourcing, outstaffing business, which gradually grew into business creating IT infrastructure, and in general, all low voltage cabling. So I would say cabling was we were kind of engineers and electricians. And we gradually grew into deploying data centers. That's where we encountered Bitcoin mining again, but it was now in a big way. And it was making lots of noise and money, and there was lots of prospects and hype behind it. It was just before the ICO. Ethereum hasn't dropped yet, so that space. And then we started creating containers for mining. Came along all the Litecoins and Dash and all that. What was there? I forgot the name of the chain. Yeah, all the proof of work. And then came the proof of stake, GPU mining. So we were mostly providing the environment around it, the setup. And then we caught the hype of, we understood with all these mining stuff and tokens, we need infrastructure of wallets and being able to do consumer activity in the stores. So we did this Paytomat wallet. 2000, it was launched, had its own ICO. At some stage, it even went into the EOS space, becoming one of the wallets. But before that, if you have in the cryptocurrency business and you are developing a wallet, every other blockchain used to support you. From small ones to big ones, everybody just, integrate my chain into your wallet and you will get a grant from us. So that's how we started, but it was too early. that project failed. Crypto to fiat conversions were not so common back then. There were no services, there was no regulation, there was no understanding what to do, and everything seemed to be illegal. But even with that challenge, we did deploy retail, I would say, point of sale, like small QR codes, like mobile QR codes, which you can scan. And there were around like more than 200 restaurants in Ukraine only where you can pay with. So that's 2017-18. That activity was going great, but it couldn't expand, it couldn't scale up, it couldn't go to other geographies, it couldn't go to US or Canada, or it couldn't come even to Europe in mass. Somewhere from there, I got introduced to this EOS blockchain. ICO was happening, and one of our friends, Roman, who was back then a big Bitcoin maximalist, because he got introduced to Bitcoin as a tool quite early, and he had the proper context, which I didn't have, about ownership rights and freedom to do transactions and anti-censor. So he was coming from that background, and he introduced me to and then we became one of the block producers, launching a test net, which became quite popular, the Jungle testnet. It's still I would say, the go-to place for EOS. By acquiring this know-how of launching and relaunching chains, we started a consulting for the crypto space, chains which wanted to launch on using Antelope software, usually were our clients, and we helped launch lots of chains, most of them on the EOS space. EOS space. Back then it was called EOS.io, now it's called Antelope. And yeah, traveling a lot, going to the exposure inside the crypto scene was from Patomat days, ICOs. But since I was coming from the world of enterprise, I was looking for how we can use blockchain in different enterprise setups, creating software for them, all that stuff. And we still continue. That is that platform through which we consult enterprise. But to be frank, then it felt like enterprise doesn't get what blockchain is, and later it didn't need us. It got the know-how and started using it where they could use it. Yeah. So it's a bittersweet journey in this crypto space, lots of ups and downs, and some great experience creating great software. One of them was CryptoLine's co-founder Bogdan created this amazing asset standard, simple assets, which got forked into atomic assets, and which is, I would say, the early rush on VAX was, I would say, we contributed to it by creating this asset standard. We created a game to test that asset standard. It was a proof of concept game, kolobog.io, and we ended up at a place where we couldn't shut down the game because people started, like, the proof of concept game became a game and people started playing it, and there is an audience, there is a community. People still play that. It's just a breeding game and some challenges and tasks there. Yeah, that's how I ended up in this crypto space with multiple attempts to leave it, but still here.
Yeah, no, thanks for that comprehensive history. Just you were in very early on, and so what are the lessons learned throughout that journey? Starting, we could go step by step from the early days of just setting up infrastructure for mining. What were the takeaways of the mining business that you took? It's probably
boil down to just one thing. What's the price of electricity? It's one factor. Electricity cost, cooling cost. That was the advantage one could have over other miners. And gradually even if you are connected to a big mining pool or part of it, it boils down to electricity price and cooling price, or somewhere heating cost.
It's great that you simplified it down to just electricity costs. And were you competitive there? Was that one of the reasons why maybe you didn't continue? It was
because jumping into a big investment back then was a big ask from us, a group of engineers and electricians who are ready to build up a mining park, I would say, full of containers. And regulations were also forming. So it was hard to commit huge amount of money to something which we don't have control upon, the outcome, legality and all that stuff. So we left it to clients who would take that risk. And we were mostly like deployment contractors. We did have or keep a part of that infrastructure for our use, or we had out of 10 containers, one or half of it never went into that big business of mining pools, because for us, it always came down to electricity price and cooling costs. So
Gotcha.
had advantage there, and we couldn't beat them.
It makes sense. Makes sense. At that point, you were at least engaged in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And what was your mindset back then? Because were you thinking of it as a new revolutionary money at that point, or was it still okay? Hey, like we're providing this
So
business for.
it was transactions. It was international transactions. It was so as a foreigner student living in a foreign country, the first thing I encountered was this cross-border payments and the fees and the delay. So this digital currency moving around was wow. Amazing. We can use it, but back then didn't have the understanding. Like in the end, we still need to cash out in fiat, and those gateways were anyways controlled back then, still now. But yeah, that attracted. Then just this multifunctional token concept where it's the utility token for the chain capacity to use the blockchain. It's the, I would say, share unit if you are an investor into that. This multi-dimensional definition of token in the crypto space. It's a currency, it's a shareholding, maybe it's an equity in the project. It's just a, I would say, encryption function. That was also very interesting. But then after few visits to US and US crypto conferences, gradually the idea creeped in, like the early idea of ownership and freedom. I would say people in North America, in USA, have a very distinct definition of that and fighting for that. And the creation of Bitcoin, all other cryptocurrencies was behind that concept. Wasn't very strong, I would say, in other places. Also this privacy part, which I would say is a cultural difference between some places in West and East. In East, if you're rich, you don't want to hide, you want to tell people you are rich. But in West, if one becomes rich, they will go live in a ranch or in the middle of a jungle, so no neighbors. It's different. It's like you don't want to be a nobody. You became somebody. So you want to flaunt that. While being in all those early conferences, mostly Ethereum conferences, I heard the topic of banking of and how this might be a big thing. But looking back, I would say it still is a talking point, but it became more like virtue signaling. Nothing was done big time. And at the same time, I was watching in India, this whole India stack coming up, layers of government APIs and this whole unified payment interface. And then government signing an executive order to tell all the banks, give zero balance bank accounts to everyone. I said, look, one signature and unbanked became banked. We didn't need crypto even. So at the initial stages, I thought, oh, cryptocurrency and blockchain has an advantage over regular financial systems. But now I don't have that. I don't have that idea. Right now, looking at payment system and fintech that is operating in China or in India, they have gone past. Whatever we thought we would do in the crypto space, those places have done it. Yes, there are questions about decentralization, ownership, government censorship, but consumer experience, they have attained that. And in crypto space, we still lack that huge time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think from a practical perspective, the payments area is extremely competitive. And from a user experience standpoint, Venmo or Zelle or all these e-wallet systems around the world are a better experience right now than crypto. So it's really hard to compete. I think the only area that you are able to compete is in areas where they don't have those e-wallet solutions, or there's somehow restrictions around moving money. So let's say you're in Russia, let's say, or others like sanctioned countries, then people recognize and realize that they want ownership.
It has very aggressive financial monitoring from institutions over transactions. Those places are like a target audience. The consumer experience, the speed that we have in the fintech now. The thing was like back then when we launched Paytomat, the whole talk was, or all those wallets, it was about replacing MasterCard and Visa. But in places like China and India, MasterCard and Visa were already replaced by mobile and payment interfaces. So something was already solved. And in the crypto space, we were like, one step behind trying to still solve something which has been solved in a way for masses, for mass use. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good experience, and you had that direct experience with Paytomat, and I think this the same challenges. That's why I think you have your perspective. It makes sense. It was incredibly competitive, and the solutions were being created already at the time. So, any other lessons with Paytomat? So maybe payments is a difficult area, especially where places in India, China, they already have very good solutions, even in the US. And so it's hard to differentiate. Any other lessons of why?
It is an observation. When whole crypto scene and the whole this movement started, privacy was one main thing. But gradually, I would say due to the greed that humans showed during the ICO phase, we invited all the regulators, and this whole thing of KYC and AML in crypto wallet. I just think, okay, why do I want to use this crypto wallet with so much of KYC and AML? Let me just recover my PayPal account or let's sign up for a new one. It's now same. That was one observation. Back then, crypto anarchy was still something important and had priority. Right now in crypto products, just for the sake of doing business or keeping the business alive or sustaining it, or maybe some might call it like we have to take this compromise just to progress to move to the next step. Maybe it's also true. But yeah, I have this observation that we now have KYC, AML at every step in the crypto space. And this was something crypto was made to avoid that, but now we have it like everywhere. And with that observation, a new consumer might think like, oh, why do I even need this? I can use the regular fintech with the same KYC and ML processes.
Yeah, it's true. And so the KYC is an extra barrier. People are used to it in the traditional world to KYC do it once to set up a brokerage account, let's say. But yeah, so now in crypto, every application you sign up to, you have to do this. It's like you have to do it multiple times, right? It's not like
Yeah, one
just
of the
do
challenge was this
yeah.
key phrase. This key phrase part of creating a wallet was a big block because most of the people would just, okay, I will do it later and run away, or they won't save the key phrase and might lose the wallet. So this was also and still is for many products. Big road, I won't say a road, but it's a hurdle that a customer needs to cross to further onboard into the product. But when they are shown this 12-word, 24-word key phrase, they're like, okay, I'm just.
Yeah, it is the number one problem in crypto still today. I do think that's going to be solved with passwordless systems like WebAuthn, but then you have the issue of how do you do recovery? I think that's
Yeah,
going to be the
we
critical
had
issue.
in
Yeah.
Europe. We tried like
Yeah.
in back around just after EOS launch, we had this idea of a geographical chain. We called it Europe because we thought like European businesses might not be on a chain with non-European validators. So we created that product blockchain, and it had some dApps also, mostly focused towards track and trace and job list and task management and identity. So the identity was tried to be managed. Again, if it's a big corporation, you can connect it to the employer ID or something. And that part has document verification and recovery process. But for general mass, there was this idea to use government ID, biometric ID with an NFC chip, use that to self KYC and identify yourself. It is again going in the same path of KYC and ML with government documents. So the government documents might be disabled or reissued with a different face and a name. All kind of forgery can happen. But yeah, and it's a point of failure. If I lose my government ID and I get a new one, how do I recover? Splitting keys, all that stuff. I don't think I have seen a product which does this key management and account recovery like ideally. Every process or solution has some compromise, falling back to something Web 2 or falling back to some government ID. Yeah, key management is also.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So since you have a lot of experience, I think, and we are trying to build those solutions, the key recovery, and we do have solutions there, and a kind of an identity network. Could be good to maybe in the future talk more about that and get your advice and consultation about that. Okay, and so how was your experience with Crypto Alliance and Testnet? What were your takeaways from all your involvement in building this test net for the EOS network, the
Test
most
nets are
popular.
the ultimate
Yeah.
portal for developer onboarding. Some even gamify their testnet presence on the testnet, even for the end user, for the token, I would say, token holders who are not like running a validator node but just to go through this funnel of testnet, trying out the product and making mistakes there and sending huge transactions to a random person just to check. You can afford that on testnets. And in general, for any blockchain project, testnet is an amazing funnel to onboard developers, to find a community which can consult you about the deployment and troubleshooting. Yeah, and Jungle stayed on, let's say it's 6 years now. It's the fourth iteration right now, and there are some private ones where the new code is being tested and new features are being tested. But yeah, I would give you this example of Kusama, which was this test net which became a product and had its own token price and its own business in itself. So yeah, testnet's amazing place to meet like-minded people.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's you get access to all these developers. Probably all the developers that are building on the ecosystem you get connected with. So it's
and a review, you can test like a feature would be deployed soon, and you can test whether your dApp would break with that feature deployment or not. You can do some preparations or upgrade itself. Yeah, it's an interesting place, and yeah, we are more than happy to keep running it.
Great. And you said there's private versions, and so maybe the latest Antelope upgrade, let's say 6.0, are you expecting or are you keeping up with that, or did you mention the private version?
Yeah. Like even not only that, even sometimes the chain. So it's usually done in a huddle of all, for example, in Antelope scene, all the Antelope OG engineers come around and try to break the chain, overstress it, do hell ton of transaction, push the limits. Such testings happen. New features that are being proposed or are in the pipeline that are being tested, some interesting ones. For example, on the Jungle testnet, the EOS EVM was tested. It's connected. I would say a few dApps were also, before launching the production version to the public, they were testing their dApps there. Expanding into this EVM space was happening there.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, you just get a lot of insights into exactly what's going on in an ecosystem. So let's shift over to what you're working on currently. So you're a consultant at Zyson. Do you want to share any projects you're working on, or maybe the types of projects you're working at a high level there? And
projects that are interesting, not crypto-wise, but blockchain use-wise. So there is this project in European Union about solar power community with tokenization of the electricity produced and the investment into bill of material that would be put in, like in investing on a rooftop. So there are roof owners, there are house owners, there are investors who would invest in solar panels, and tokenizing that, creating an investment platform, and I would say vouchers for, to call it. I would say if you are as an investor, you receive electricity units as a voucher, as a return of interest. And electricity is an interesting commodity. It would be used anyhow.
Yeah, that's great. I just spoke with Ross yesterday, and he's involved with Power Ledger, which does some similar things, but not entirely.
On the Ethereum space, it was lots of big power producers in Europe were in that project. But this one is more like self-governing and a transition from regular electricity users to managing the investment, managing the return of investment, then the governance as a DAO. So yeah, one product is that, which I said there is not much of crypto use, but there is lots of blockchain use in there. There is a product which is in the aviation space related to pilot logbooks, service logbooks, and their whole profiles. I would say their training, their certifications, licenses, medical records, and flight hours and that, I would say, the log that is required as per compliance in different parts of the world. So putting that also, like I would say, that product on blockchain again doesn't have any crypto use but blockchain use. In the end, the pilot profile is tokenized and it helps the pilots to transition from one airlines to another easily, because most of that history and data are on paper. It's not even like it's on paper. They do lots of paperwork. So it's not like just digitization of that process, but also putting blockchain behind it as a tamper-proof database.
Yeah,
That
makes sense. Makes sense. I think
uh,
even diplomas and education is like that to
so I see that
validate.
happen. I see many state governments in India already doing that. Even when we created the simple assets, CryptoLines created the simple asset standard on Antelope, we did create a interface to how to issue certificates. Yeah. One thing you did ask a bit earlier about observations. Another observation I have is like in the crypto space, after 2019, I don't see any major problems being solved, as if whatever happened till 2019, the new crypto people forgot about it, the new blood and new crowd that came in, and they started solving a problem which was solved in 20, but people forgot about it. So I see that happening from time to time with lots of products. Yeah, those products back in 2017 were quite early. They failed. So that's why nobody remembers them and nobody recalls that problem had been solved. But yeah, it keeps repeating. So through Zysan, coming back to Zysan, yeah, such blockchain products, because Zysan itself is more focused on deployment of blockchain products in enterprise and self-governing communities. Yeah, that's that.
The self-governing is interesting because that to me is very different than enterprise. And when you mention self-governing, I think of more DAO tools. Is I guess it would be at least a governance token, even though it's not crypto. That
Yeah, as I said,
be-
this multidimensional of a token from a blockchain, which can be a cryptocurrency or a share unit or a token that you need to show or pay to do transactions. Yeah, that part is being harnessed here, I would say. So
sounds
like a solar power park might have electricity units tokenized, the governance token, the investment platform, and the certificates, I would say electricity bonds that it creates. Yeah, in the NFT can be used as a bond, or a certificate is on blockchain is an NFT.
Yeah, that's great. It's people think of NFTs as kind of these profile pics, but it's a lot more than that, right? It's like a lot of the
It's an access control token.
exactly.
Yeah, it gives you access to things by proving something. And it might be a picture, it might be a certificate, it might be a gun license, it might be a car repair log or a flight log of a pilot. Or a player profile playing football.
Yeah, I agree. There's many multiple aspects to NFTs. So I guess where maybe the last topic is the Bitcoin topic with Lion.xyz. Maybe you can share what's
Why
the latest.
we went there? At some stage, it felt like, okay, this is the ultimate place. And having I would say this blockchain and the crypto experience and the crypto community and the crypto price experience CryptoLines had by being in the EOS space, which didn't lift off much back then due to the previous community owners, I would say. Not the community right now, which is on EOS, but the previous one, which was managing. It created a situation that the success or the innovation we made didn't get instant as we thought would, by comparing the similar innovations and the incentives or business success that such product had on other chains was big. We were looking to move into a new space out of Antelope, and we thought, oh, Bitcoin, like all this ordinals rush is happening, all that magic runes and launchpad stuff. And it was I would say it's quite organic for the crypto team, because took early interest into it. Having created an asset standard on Antelope and having operated a marketplace and all that experience, we started I think we looked at Bit through that prism. And when ordinals happened, we thought, oh, we should jump in and figure out what's happening here. So there is Lions XYZ, which is a ordinal launchpad, magicrunes.io, but I would say add more to it. It feels like every activity that has happened in past, be it multisig, DAO, NFT, DeFi, it feels like everything will come to this layer now, to this Bitcoin layer. The same caravan or the same circus is like now coming to this chain. So it's also our attempt to have some early movers advantage and bring in some past experience and try to make most of it. And yeah, and as the name suggests, LON, just lion, but it's on layer one. So L1 on, so that was our idea.
And you mentioned, so it's a layer one. You consider a layer one on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's all this activity can come, I would say, this DeFi activity, asset standard, which is evolving from ordinals to magic runes. All that activity and all that smart, there are already many projects that are trying to be the smart contract platform for Bitcoin. Yeah, in that sense, we are still exploring and trying to figure out which direction should we take it to. There is also some, I would say, sometimes we have this dilemma, like, okay, are we like making use of it in a way which it wasn't meant to be used? That discussion comes up.
What do you think about that? That is an interesting topic because Bitcoin was meant to be a payment system, and I think some core developers are not too happy with the ordinals and inscriptions. How do you see it? Could it possibly overload the network? Maybe do you have so much?
We will have some other layer X solutions to handle that congestion. But there is also an angle like with halving happening and miners making less, but in volume because of this increased usage of coin ordinals and magic runes that has created huge transactions. And transaction fees are making up for the slashing of income that halving brings. So it's a two-way street. Yes, it spams the network. This spamming of network is not a great thing. It's looked down upon, but it's also a challenge. Like, how do we handle it? For a truly decentralized network or a layer like Bitcoin, I wouldn't take it as a complaint, but I would take it more as a challenge, because if we cannot overcome, this is an attack vector. We can spam it to death or spam it to congestion or DDoS it. That's also not a way out. So gradually, intelligent guys are figuring out different layer X solutions for it. Real world assets is a big thing, most probably because also of bit volumes, the trade volumes there are on exchanges, and in general, real world assets and of high value might be managed in sense of like DAO governance connected to transactions and payments. For high value assets like Bitcoin will be the answer. There are other tokens though, but Bitcoin has the most trust and the most trading volume in the end. So we'll end up here.
Yeah, that's good. I think that seems to be the thesis many people are coming to. So that's great. For those that aren't familiar with runes, I don't follow the space as closely. The difference between ordinals and runes, and is there anything going on? And you guys seem to do both.
It's a better design magic rune. It's spam. I would say if it's very in a simplified answer would be, and a generalized answer would be, magic runes spams the network less than ordinals. 20, I would say. These are the iterations of different asset standards and how to handle assets on this layer. So with time, there are more optimized ones. Yeah, less failure, less spam, less writing transactions and sending pointers which are not used later. So yeah, something like that.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So maybe, runes will get a lot more support, it seems, from everyone if it's more efficient and doesn't clog the network.
We will get to a stage where some high value land property contract pointers might be on something like runes. So again, it's going back to that NFT is a certificate or a bond or a ownership title. So it might go there.
Yeah, definitely. So need to pay a lot more attention to this area. Yeah, runes is not just yeah. All right, sounds good. So any last comments or words? We'll have you back. Give us updates, and I'll be talking to you more on the business side of things and our technical sides of things as we build out our layer one, a nonprofit, no pre-mine layer one. But any thoughts or any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
Lately, I have been exploring all these Raspberry Pi Intel NUC devices so that you can run your own nodes and exploring all those operating systems, mostly on Debian, I think, Umbrel or Citadel operating systems where you can run your Bitcoin, a Lightning connector and ad blocker and some cloud storage personal like self-hosting. So self-hosting is becoming an interesting topic. I would say more for people where you are based in US because regulation is like it's like looking like a whack-a-mole, start off a whack-a-mole. People are being chased around and are being shut down from wallets to fines to exchanges and chasing down people who haven't retrospective tax claims and all that from governments. So all kind of attack is on the crypt networks right now in US. I think there would be a spike in pro consumers, advanced users might start self-hosting and start using devices like that. And those devices or boxes at your home, that platform might also start a new wave of DApp or what would I like DApp behavior, DApp usage, and even development. So yeah, nodes are coming closer to the end user, it seems.
That's
So it,
interesting too. That's interesting. You may be a little early on this, but I think
it
yeah,
came
maybe
in waves.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
something new. It was there. It went
Mhm.
out. It went into the direction like the Solana smartphone, where by having proof of ownership of a device and the address connected to it, you get access to tons of drops and stuff. So in the end, even if you didn't get the smartphone in your hand, you're happy because you got lots of different drops and meme coins. It's a very interesting Kickstarter-like project where the product isn't delivered and the customer isn't complaining. But this new hype about self-hosting, yeah, it might be too early, but it seems like the regulation or the latest trends, I don't know which direction the government is taking all this, why this clamp down, what would this bring? Is US planning to launch its own CBDC or what? Like why now? Why this? And the answer might be the self-hosted small devices that also are multifunctional, just not it's not the node where your wallet app connects to, but it's also firewall and a self-hosted cloud, small one, but yeah. So it comes in cycles, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, yeah, that vision would be great, where hopefully the edge devices, the technology becomes much more performant and accessible to people. And it seems like that's what's happening. It's just the hardware is getting better, the software is getting better. AI is also, I think, heading the same direction where a lot of people are wanting to
Yeah,
have.
all these
Yeah.
posted boxes, they are around like $400 hardware. You can get an open source software, a fork of it from the internet. And it does even have all these language model chats, so you can run your own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So I
but I
think,
would
yeah,
say this is for advanced users or pro consumers. So it's like the high-end DSLR space in photography.
starts as a niche. It starts as a niche and then it grows.
But it might go wild if the regulations and all these clampdowns and arrests and shutting down of services, takedown notices, these keep increasing. The advanced user would start running in their own fallback infrastructure, and then it might be their primary infrastructure. Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, we'll have to get updates from you with your kind of
Yeah, I'm
hardware
also
project.
learning, so it's not. I'm also just curious.
Okay, sounds great. All right, so if anyone in the future wants to dabble with their own hardware, personal self-hosted kind of hardware, that would be go to Sudip. And anything in terms of enterprise as well with Zyson
Yeah.
and runes, ordinals, NFTs with Crypto Lions. Sounds great. Really appreciate it. We'll have you back. And yeah, hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye.
All right, so that's pretty much